as wealthy and as prosperous as you want to be. And you can be as rich as the Lord and the law will allow. But money with no mission will leave you mixed up, messed up, and in a meaningless existence. That was Judas's problem. You know Judas? Judas is the one who betrayed Jesus. He loved money more than he loved the master. He loved money more than he loved the ministry. And Jesus says about him the very thing that he could also say about us. He said about Judas's life, he said it would have been better that that man was never born. If all you're going to do with the years God gave to you is lie and steal and cheat and mess around and rip people off, then why were you even born? If that's the kind of person you want to be, all you want to do is to be a snake and a conniver. Why is it were you ever born? You think God put you here to do that? You ain't got to talk to me. I know I'm stepping on somebody's toes. That was Judas's problem. Would have been better, Jesus said, if you'd never been born, Judas. If that's all you were going to do with the years that I gave you, if all you're going to do is go through life being selfish and always shining the spotlight on you and always got to have everything your way and you too full of yourself to help other folk, all you want to do is see how you can use people, then you probably should not have even been born. That's how serious helping folk is. Your life doesn't just belong to you. There's a lot of people who believe it, but your life doesn't just belong to you. The basic premise of our faith is that all of our lives stretch beyond the borders of ourselves. Life is supposed to be like eating a good hamburger. You know what I mean. I'm talking about a good hamburger now. You know, I'm talking about a hamburger where the meat just runs over the border of the bone. You got more burger than bone. You know, one of them good hamburgers. You know, no one wants a hamburger that has more bun than burger. That ain't very satisfying or filling. And life is that way. When you live it in such a narrow and unfocused way, you got more bun than burger. Our lives ought to spill over into other folks' lives. You have to help other folks, or life will never satisfy you or fill you up. You're going to be always looking for the next man. You're going to be always looking for the next woman. You're going to always be looking for the next cheap thrill. You're going to always be running around talking about, I can't find my calling. What does God want me to do with my life? That's because you're operating with more bun than burger. Your life needs to spill over so that you can be focused on helping other people and just not yourself. Life lived narrowly will always leave you asking what that little old lady asked in that commercial. Where's the beef? Where's the beef? We are filled and fulfilled when we live life sing about and helping other people. This is Easter Sunday. And I wonder if we truly understand the meaning and message of this holiest day on the Christian calendar. You want to know why you ought to go see about other folk? It's because the one we celebrate and worship here today came to earth to see about us. He commands us to do no more than what he did. If the Christ, who had a privileged place in paradise, who shared a spiritual oneness with God, if Christ could come from the throne room of heaven and take on human flesh just to save us from our sins, if Christ can come from heaven to see about us. Are you trying to tell me that you can't go across the street to take somebody some food? If Christ came down for you, are you trying to convince yourself that you're too busy to go see people you know are in the hospital? If Christ came down to save you and gave his life for you, you're too good to go out with the church to serve and feed homeless folk who don't take for granted even the very food you throw away or may not even consider eating yourself. Come on, somebody. If Christ came for you, you can't go see even your relatives who are locked away in prison. Why are you so judgmental against those who are incarcerated or in bondage of any kind? God told Israel in the Torah when they left out of Egypt, he told them specifically, you better never forget the stranger. You better never mistreat the slave, because at one time you were slaves and strangers, and I came to see about you. We are all strangers and slaves to sin, every one of us. But grace showed up. God sent his only begotten son, and Jesus came to see about us. Jesus came and rescued us. And as we continue to look at the book of Nehemiah, that's exactly what Nehemiah's mission was about. Nehemiah, like Jesus, was in a privileged position. Nehemiah lived with the king of Persia. He was a Jew living with what we call today an Iranian. He had a good job. He was the king's cupbearer. He was kind of a culinary bodyguard. Everything the king ate or drank, Nehemiah tested it first, because kings were always worried about somebody trying to poison them and take their throne. Although Nehemiah enjoyed a privileged position, keep in mind the rest of his Jewish brothers and sisters were enslaved to the Persians. They did not have what Nehemiah had. Nehemiah didn't have it as rough as all the other slaves did. He had a privileged position. So one particular day, Nehemiah was paid a visit by some relatives and others who were living in Jerusalem. Jerusalem, you got to remember, when the Persians came in, they sacked the city and they made all the Jews, except for a few, leave and go to other countries. Jerusalem was now the ghetto. Nehemiah did not live there, though. He lived with the king in the king's palace. Don't miss that. They told Nehemiah that the city was in ruins. They told him it was destroyed. They told him you would not recognize the place, Nehemiah. The people who survived the takeover, they're in bad shape. They're in great trouble and in disgrace. When Nehemiah heard the report, he cried and mourned for several days. He fasted and prayed and asked God for help, that he might go and help his brothers and sisters in Jerusalem. God granted him favor from the king, and he went to Jerusalem to see about the city and to see about the people. Don't miss the picture here. Nehemiah was living like some of y'all. Nehemiah was living the good life.